whispered by the darkness. Some nightmares don't fade when you wake up. Some nightmares whisper your name. Ethan once had a normal life until the darkness began whispering his name. The faint sounds in the dead of night, the fleeting figures in the mirror, the suffocating chill wrapping around him with no wind in sight. And then he appeared. Logan, a former friend, or a nightmare that had clawed its way out of Ethan's mind and into reality? That torn, twisted smile, those hollow, abyss-like eyes, a voice stretching unnaturally, like a whisper crawling from the depths of hell. Logan had returned, but he wasn't here just to haunt Ethan. He wanted him, and Ethan would never escape. Chapter 1. Whispers in the Dark. Ethan opened his eyes. The room was pitch black, drowning in an eerie silence. Only a faint glow from the street lamp outside seeped through the curtains, casting thin streaks of light on the ceiling. The air was still, save for the quiet sound of his own shallow breathing. A strange chill crawled up his spine, making his skin prickle. He wasn't sure why he had woken up, until he heard it. Shh. Go back to sleep. Ethan felt his heart stop. The voice came from right beside him, whispering, soft, almost soothing, but twisted, stretching unnaturally like an echo from the abyss. He turned his head, but there was no one there. Just darkness and the icy air pressing in around him. Taking a shaky breath, Ethan tried to shake off the unease. It's just my imagination, he told himself. But the unsettling feeling coiled around his chest, tight and suffocating, as if unseen eyes were watching him from the shadows. Instinctively, his gaze darted around the room. Everything looked the same: the wooden wardrobe against the wall, the cluttered desk, the closed bedroom door. And yet, something felt wrong. The dim light from the window reflected off the mirror on his desk, creating a warped, flickering image of the room. A faint gleam slid across the surface of the glass, and then Ethan saw it. In the mirror, a figure stood behind him, watching. Ethan's breath hitched. It was Logan, but not the Logan he once knew. His skin was no longer just pale. It was burned, charred in jagged patches, as if melted by flames. His eyes were hollow voids, gaping like endless pits of darkness. His mouth wasn't just slit from ear to ear. It stretched down his neck, revealing jagged, razor-sharp teeth gleaming beneath twisted flesh. And he was smiling. Not a normal smile. A frozen, permanent grin, warped and grotesque, carved deep into his face as if it could never fade. "I've missed you, Ethan." The voice slithered through the air again, unmistakable this time. Ethan stumbled back, heart pounding, eyes darting back to the mirror, only to find it empty. The room fell silent once more, but Ethan knew. Logan hadn't left. He was still there, waiting, and Ethan would never escape him. Chapter 2. When the Darkness Calls. Ethan couldn't breathe. The entire room felt frozen, so cold that every breath he took seemed to crystallize in the air. His hands trembled as he clutched the blanket tightly, his eyes locked onto the mirror on the desk. But Logan was no longer there. His gaze darted around the room, desperately trying to convince himself that what he had just seen was merely an illusion. But then he heard it, a soft laugh, whispering, distant yet echoing right beside his ear. "Ethan!" He shot up, his heart pounding against his ribs. The laughter grew louder, seeping into every shadowed corner of the room. Click. The wardrobe door trembled slightly. Ethan froze. He didn't want to look. He couldn't look. But an unseen force seemed to drag his eyes toward the old wooden door. It was opening. From the suffocating darkness within, a pale hand emerged, its fingers unnaturally long, nails blackened and jagged, scraping against the door with a bone-chilling screech. Ethan swallowed hard, his body paralyzed. Then a low, guttural voice rose from the shadows. "I see you." This time he couldn't hold back the terror. Ethan screamed, bolting from the bed and shoving his bedroom door open. He stumbled down the hallway, heart racing wildly, legs trembling yet desperate to move faster. The living room. He had to get to the living room. Light. He needed light. But just as he reached the staircase, someone was already standing there. A tall, emaciated figure, head tilted slightly as if curiously observing him. The dim glow of the nightlight illuminated his face, a face Ethan knew too well, now twisted into something grotesque. Hollow black eyes, a mouth slashed open from ear to ear, and in his hand, a gleaming knife. "I told you, Ethan," Logan chuckled softly. "Time to sleep." And then he lunged. Chapter 3. Desperate Escape. Ethan's frantic footsteps pounded against the wooden floor as he raced down the stairs. Each breath came in desperate gasps, his heart hammering so violently it felt like it would burst from his chest. But behind him, Logan's eerie, ghostly laughter clung to the air, never fading. "Run! Keep running!" Ethan stumbled into the living room, his trembling hand reaching for the light switch. He flipped it on. Nothing. The room remained engulfed in suffocating darkness. "Power's out." He staggered back, eyes darting around for an escape route. The front door. He lunged toward it, fumbling for the lock. But just as his fingers touched the doorknob, a powerful force yanked him backward. Thud! Ethan crashed onto the floor, his head slamming against the edge of the table. His vision blurred, stars dancing before his eyes. As he struggled to push himself up, a dark shadow loomed over him. Logan. He straddled Ethan, his twisted face splitting into a monstrous grin. The knife in his hand gleamed menacingly in the dim light. "Scared," Logan whispered, savoring the moment. "I can see it in your eyes." Panic surged through Ethan. He thrashed, his hands scrambling for anything, something within reach. His fingers brushed against something solid, a lamp. Without hesitation, he swung it upward with all his strength. Crash! Logan reeled, the knife slipping from his grasp. Seizing the opportunity, Ethan lunged forward, gripping Logan's wrist and shoving him back. Logan lost balance, toppling onto the floor. This was his only chance. Ethan snatched the knife and bolted for the door. But just as he unlocked it, an ice-cold hand clamped around his throat from behind. Logan was back on his feet. This time he wasn't smiling. His darkened eyes burned with pure rage. "You really think you can escape?" Ethan struggled, trying to drive the knife into Logan, but he was too fast. Logan twisted his arm, forcing the weapon from his grasp. It clattered uselessly to the floor. That twisted smile returned. "Game over, Ethan." He raised his hand. And then, bang! A gunshot shattered the silence, ripping through the darkness. Logan froze, his eyes widening. A thin trickle of blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. Slowly, he turned his head. Ethan's father stood in the doorway, a smoking gun in his grip. Logan looked down at his chest. A deep red stain blossomed across his shirt. He staggered back, his grin never fading. "This isn't over," he rasped. Then his body collapsed to the floor. Silence swallowed the room. Ethan gasped for breath, his legs nearly giving out beneath him. He stared at his father, unable to process what had just happened. But was it really over? Chapter 4. The dead never truly disappear. The room remained eerily silent, the acrid scent of gunpowder mixed with the metallic stench of blood, making Ethan feel nauseous. He stared at Logan's motionless body, sprawled across the floor. Was it real this time? Was Logan truly dead? His father stepped forward, placing a firm hand on his shoulder, his voice rough with tension. "We need to leave, now." Ethan nodded, but as he moved toward the door, an unsettling feeling crept into his mind. A strange, lingering unease. He turned back. Logan still lay there. Blood from the bullet wound in his chest had seeped deep into the wooden floor. But something wasn't right. His mouth. Though he was dead, the smile remained. His eyes were wide open, lifeless, empty. And yet, for a fleeting moment, Ethan swore they were staring straight at him. A shiver crawled down his spine. "Let's go, Ethan," his father urged. Ethan took a deep breath, shaking off his paranoid thoughts, and bolted out of the house. That midnight, Ethan couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, Logan's image appeared. The unblinking stare, that twisted, nightmarish grin. Then a sound made him jolt upright. Click! The window. His heart pounded as he turned toward it. It was open. He was sure, absolutely sure. He had locked it before going to bed. A gust of icy air swept into the room, carrying with it a sickening, putrid stench, the stench of rotting blood. And then, a whisper slithered through the darkness. Ethan! His entire body went rigid. Slowly, he turned toward the corner of the room. And then, his heart stopped. Logan was standing there. His skin was deathly pale, the bullet wound still gaping in his chest, but he no longer breathed. His eyes were nothing but endless black voids, hollow and lifeless. But the worst part was that smile, wider than before, ripped open from ear to ear. "I told you, didn't I?" Logan whispered, stepping closer. "The game isn't over yet." Chapter 5. The smile never fades. The room was pitch black, save for the faint moonlight spilling through the wide-open window. The air was freezing, as if time itself had frozen still. Ethan couldn't breathe. He stared at Logan, the one who was supposed to be dead. Yet there he stood, hollow eyes staring back. His smile stretched so wide it no longer belonged to anything human. "No, this can't be," Ethan stammered, stepping back, but his feet felt glued to the floor. Logan moved forward, his bare feet dragging against the wooden floor, producing a sickening, creaking sound. With every step, dark crimson blood dripped from the wound in his chest. "Ethan!" His voice rasped, rough and lifeless, as if it came from the grave itself. Ethan tried to scream, but no sound escaped his throat. Logan stopped right in front of him. His breath was ice cold, reeking of decayed flesh. Then he threw his head back and laughed, a twisted, maniacal laugh that echoed through the room. Click. The bedroom door creaked open. Ethan's father stood there, eyes wide with horror. "Ethan, what's—" Thud! An invisible force slammed into him, sending him crashing into the hallway. "No!" Ethan screamed, lunging toward his father, but Logan's grip seized his shoulders, pinning him down onto the bed. "No one is coming to save you, Ethan," Logan whispered, his grin stretching even wider. Ethan thrashed wildly, but Logan's arms were cold and unyielding as steel. Then Logan leaned in, his black, hollow eyes boring into Ethan's soul. "It's time for you to smile, too." He lifted a gleaming knife. Shk! The icy blade traced across Ethan's cheek, leaving a long, thin cut. Warm blood trickled down his neck. Logan let out a soft chuckle, tilting his head as he admired his work. "Not enough. Let me help you a little more." He raised the knife again, but at that exact moment, bang! A gunshot rang out. Logan froze. A fresh bullet wound bloomed in his chest. Thick, blackened blood oozed from it, but he didn't fall. Ethan's gaze snapped to the doorway. His father stood there, his trembling hands clutching a pistol. "Run, Ethan!" Without hesitation, Ethan bolted out of the bed, sprinting toward the hallway, but Logan's deranged laughter still echoed behind him. The game isn't over. His father ran close behind, gripping the handgun tightly, but Ethan could see his hands trembling. "Where's Mom?" Ethan shouted as they reached the ground floor. "She's in the car. We need to get out of here now." But just then, the lights flickered and died. Darkness swallowed everything. Then a sound cut through the silence. Screech! A chill crawled down Ethan's spine. It was the front door, closing. "No!" No exclamation mark. Ethan lunged for it, but it was too late. Bang! The door slammed shut right in front of him. Outside, his mother screamed in panic, witnessing the nightmare unfolding inside. "Ethan, open the door!" He twisted the doorknob frantically. It wouldn't budge. "No! Not now!" "It's over, Ethan!" He froze. That voice, right behind him. "No one escapes me!" His father fired into the darkness. Bang! Silence. Then, ha 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 ha! Logan's laughter erupted everywhere. From the shadows, from the walls, from inside Ethan's own mind. The world spun, the room distorted. Thick darkness swallowed everything. Enough! His father's voice trembled. He took a step back, sweat dripping down his face. This thing, he's not human. That's right. A pale hand shot out from the darkness and clamped around his father's throat. Dad! Ethan screamed, lunging forward. But Logan's grip tightened. Crack! A sickening snap. His father's eyes rolled back. His body crumpled to the floor. Lifeless. Ethan couldn't breathe. His mind shut down. No. He couldn't lose his father. He couldn't. Now, it's your turn. Logan turned to him, his smile stretching so wide it nearly tore his face apart. He stepped closer. Ethan backed against the door. No way out. No one left to help. Just Logan, and that horrific, never-ending smile. Time to sleep. Logan raised the knife. And then, boom! The front door burst open. Ethan's mother charged in, a gasoline can in her hands. Without hesitation, she drenched Logan in fuel. Whoosh! For a split second, Logan froze. Then, she flicked a lighter. You don't belong in this world. She hurled it at him. Whoosh! Flames exploded, engulfing Logan in an instant. He screamed. His skin melted. But in that final moment, he was still smiling. His smile never faded. Ethan grabbed his mother's hand, yanking her toward the exit. Behind them, the fire roared, swallowing the entire house. But Logan's laughter still echoed. No one knew if he was truly dead, or just waiting. Chapter 7. Has he really disappeared? The flames roared, consuming the house until nothing remained but ashes. Ethan and his mother stood a short distance away, the scorching heat searing their faces. Ethan panted, his chest rising and falling rapidly. Logan was dead, wasn't he? No one could survive a fire like that. No one. His mother gripped his hand tightly, tears streaming down her soot-covered face. She had lost her husband. Their family had lost everything, but at least she still had Ethan. We have to go, she said, her voice choked with emotion. Ethan didn't reply. He stood frozen, eyes fixed on the smoldering ruins. The fire had died. Only rubble remained. But why? Why did he still feel like Logan was watching him? A few days later, Ethan and his mother moved into a small hotel, trying to escape the nightmare they had endured. The police had investigated the fire, but found no trace of Logan's body. They said it was possible he had been completely incinerated. But Ethan didn't believe that. He couldn't believe that. He had seen that smile in the flames, that twisted, horrifying smile. It couldn't have disappeared so easily. Midnight. Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. The silence was suffocating. Only the steady ticking of the wall clock filled the room. 1:59 a.m. Then suddenly, a knock. Ethan shot upright. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was soft, but it echoed through the small hotel room. His mother was still fast asleep beside him. Ethan slowly stood up, cautiously stepping toward the door. Could it be hotel staff or the police? He took a deep breath, his trembling hand reaching for the doorknob. And just as his fingers brushed against it, a voice whispered from the other side. Ethan! He froze. His heart stopped. No. Time to sleep. Ethan screamed, stumbling backward and crashing into a table. His mother jolted awake. Ethan! What's wrong? He stared at the door. No one was there. Nothing, except a small piece of paper slipped under the door. Ethan slowly bent down, his hands shaking as he picked it up. There were only 3 words written on it. I'm still here. Cold dread filled his veins. That twisted smile flashed in his mind. Logan wasn't dead. He had never disappeared. He was still watching, and he wouldn't. Chapter 8. The chase begins. Ethan stepped back, his heart pounding wildly. He felt as if the entire room was closing in, the air becoming so thick that it was hard to breathe. Ethan, what's wrong? His mother turned on the light, her voice filled with concern. He looked at her, gripping the piece of paper tightly. He wanted to say everything, to scream that Logan was still alive. But how could he be sure? There was no one outside the door. The police had searched the scene thoroughly and found nobody. Could this just be some sick joke? Number he knew better than anyone. He was still out there. 3 days later, Ethan and his mother left the hotel, moving into a temporary apartment in the suburbs. They wanted to start over, to forget everything that had happened. But Ethan couldn't forget. The piece of paper was still in his pocket. He had tried to throw it away, but every time he did, it felt like something was holding him back, an invisible fear clinging to his mind. Every night he heard strange noises, footsteps in the hallway, a faint knocking at 2 a.m., and sometimes he heard his voice. "Ethan, go to sleep." The fourth night, Ethan's mother was fast asleep, but he wasn't. He lay on his bed, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. His hand clutched the knife hidden under his pillow. He wasn't afraid anymore. If Logan was really alive, he wouldn't run away again. He would end this, once and for all. Knock, knock, knock. The sound echoed through the room. Ethan took a deep breath and slowly sat up. He didn't turn on the light. He didn't call his mother. He simply tightened his grip on the knife and walked toward the door. His hand trembled as he reached for the handle. He opened the door. There was no one there. The hallway was dark, eerily silent. But then, just as Ethan was about to close the door, a pale, ice-cold hand suddenly grabbed his arm. Ethan screamed, but it was too late. He had found him. Chapter 9, The Phantom in the Dark. Ethan yanked his arm back, but the other hand gripped him like a vice. "Ah!" He struggled, swinging the knife instinctively, but the blade only sliced through empty air. A laugh echoed in the darkness. "I told you, Ethan," the familiar voice whispered, cold as the breath of death. "I would come back." Ethan's heart pounded violently. No, it couldn't be. He tried to see through the darkness, but the dim glow of the streetlight only illuminated part of the hallway. A figure stood there, tall and gaunt, with waxy, deathly pale skin, hollow, bottomless eyes. A grin stretched unnaturally wide, reaching the corners of his face. Ethan staggered back, but the door behind him was blocked. You can't be alive," he stammered. Logan tilted his head, his smile widening. "Why not?" Then he moved forward, fast, too fast. Before Ethan could react, Logan lunged at him, slamming him to the floor. He tried to lift the knife, but Logan's fingers clamped tightly around his wrist, forcing it open. The blade clattered to the ground. "I missed you, Ethan," Logan hissed. "I've been waiting for this moment for so long." A terrifying realization gripped Ethan. This wasn't Logan anymore. He was a monster. "Go to sleep." Suddenly, Logan's hand shot up, and Ethan could only scream before the darkness swallowed him whole. Final chapter. The nightmare never ends. Ethan woke up in a hospital room, the cold fluorescent light above him making his eyes ache. A burning pain spread across his body, a grim reminder of his terrifying encounter with Logan. But he was still alive. He tried to sit up, but a sharp pain shot down his spine, forcing a pained groan from his lips. A nurse walked in, offering him a gentle smile. "You're very lucky, Ethan. The police found you unconscious in the forest. No one thought you could survive after what happened." Ethan took a deep breath, memories of blood and horror flooding back. The glint of a knife, Logan's maniacal laughter, the bodies. He had stabbed him. He had seen Logan fall. He was dead, right? His voice trembled as he asked, "And Logan? Where is he?" The nurse hesitated for a second, then shook her head. There was no one else. When the police arrived, they only found you. Ethan's heartbeat pounded in his ears. Number. That's impossible. He had killed him. He had seen the blood spill, seen Logan's lifeless body. But if that were true, where was the corpse? That night, Ethan lay in his hospital bed, trying to convince himself it was over. But the unease in his chest wouldn't fade. Every time he closed his eyes, he could hear Logan's ragged breathing, his distorted laughter echoing in his mind. It's just my imagination. He turned to glance at the clock on the wall. 3 a.m. Outside, the hallway lights flickered, dimming as if about to go out. Then he heard footsteps, slow, dragging, like something was creeping closer. Ethan held his breath. It could just be a nurse making rounds. But why did the sound chill him to the bone? Click. The door to his hospital room creaked open, just slightly. He didn't move. The flickering hallway lights cast eerie shadows on the walls. He tried to peer outside, but no one was there. Then suddenly, a whisper brushed against his ear. Shh, go to sleep. Cold breath ghosted over his neck. Ethan's heart stopped. He whipped his head around. No one was there. But on his face, a thin trail of blood trickled from his forehead down to his chin. Then he looked down at his hands. A blood-stained knife rested in his trembling grip. Ethan's mouth fell open. He didn't remember holding it. He didn't. A quiet, sinister chuckle echoed from the darkness. Don't worry, Ethan. It's your turn now. The next morning, the nurses entered Ethan's room. The bed was empty. The window stood wide open, cold air rushing in. On the pristine white bed sheet, a message was scrawled in blood. He was never gone. From that day on, whispers began to spread, of a shadow lurking in the night. A new predator, bearing a grin slashed across his face and empty, soulless eyes. Ethan was never seen again.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe to support me. Hit the bell so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks a lot.